Welcome to Denver Theory Lab.
Denver Theory Lab? Okay.
Denver Theory Lab. Let's do it. But space is like the holy grail or something. They have like an emotional attachment to NASA and the belief of all the stuff NASA puts out.
Yeah, well, NASA's supposed to be this huge, iconic, revolutionary thing.
Yeah, but still, it's just weird that people have like
People don't want to shatter that dream.
Right. That's what I find weird. It's like the same people who can have a very negative opinion of the government overall. This one area, you know what I mean? It's like if you were to ask them of like, oh, do you think there's waste in Pentagon spending, in the spending we do at the Pentagon when a, defense contract comes through? Do you think people are enriching themselves? They'd be like, yeah, of course. That makes sense. NASA? No. Space is holy, basically. And like the people who work on it are akin to sanctified, that they wouldn't be involved in anything untoward. It's just crazy.
Welcome to Denver Theory Lab. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Kyle.
Where we aim to investigate and explore theoretical and practical ideas, conspiracies, events, and practices from an objective point of view to expand our range of thinking. You can make donations to Denver Theory Lab on PayPal at Denver Theory Lab. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at denvertheorylab@gmail.com. Please send us any questions, comments, or topic suggestions.
All right, we got an exciting one today. Focused on some recent events. Artemis II, mission to the moon.
Yeah. So there's so much controversy in the news that I guess not necessarily the mainstream news, because the mainstream news can't get involved with that sort of thing. They kind of just got to go with whatever the guys paying their bills tell them to do.
Yeah.
Which most of those are billionaires. What do we got? What's our perspective today?
Well, I think we're going to go through and really dissect some of the criticisms or the things that people are being critical of about the Artemis II mission. There's a lot of people. I'm one of them, and so I'll give that as a disclaimer to our listeners. I personally find myself leaning more on the flat Earth side of things. I don't believe any of these space missions. I don't believe we've actually ever left the Earth. And, there's people who doubt the NASA missions, who do believe in the heliocentric model, who do believe that, there's other planets and stuff out there, but just think that the operations that NASA has done are a farce. And there's numerous reasons one might think that. And I think today we're going to go through some of the ones about Artemis II.
Now, just so we don't completely lose our audience as soon as you say flat Earth.
Right.
I am skeptical on every front of what NASA says and NASA does and the maps and whatnot. So I still believe in a heliocentric model, but I don't believe that any of the maps that we see are as accurate as they say they are. I think there's a lot more land that's supposed to be there. I think there's a lot more land to Antarctica. I think Antarctica actually comes up almost to the equator.
Okay.
And the rest of our stuff just barely crosses the actual equator.
So you think the world's much bigger?
I think the world is much larger than what they tell us.
So
I also think we have gone to the moon, but I don't think we've gone to the moon in any of the vessels they've ever actually shown us.
Yeah.
I think they've got much more advanced technology, and they're funneling all this money into something completely different.
So, yeah, I would agree with that.
What that is, I have no idea. Maybe it's an underground lodge for, fucking Armageddon when it's coming.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a defense system to defend against some new alien overlords that are coming to take over our current alien overlords. I think the moon is a fucking moon base, and it has been, and it was placed there a long time ago by whatever race, and they couldn't feasibly give us any actual pictures of it. I think most of the stuff that we've seen so far as pictures and video, are doctored.
Yeah. Artist depictions.
At best, doctored.
Artist depictions, yeah. I mean, so, even saying what I did say for Flat Earth, for lack of a better model out there, I named that one to say that's what my beliefs lean toward. If I'm being generous, with what the official scientists put out, NASA and all that, and the sort of official scientific point of view, then I would think that they've maybe dumbed it down or not given us the full picture. Like a key underpinning of why I think what I think is the fact that Earth is a pressurized gas environment. We live in an environment with air pressure, and what they teach us is that we live on an Earth filled with air pressure that's floating in a vacuum, which just doesn't, you can't have tire pressure without a tire. So I'd be inclined to think that if we zoom out, space isn't filled with nothing. I would imagine it's filled with some sort of substance, for lack of a better term, like an ocean of it, but not necessarily, not water per se, but some sort of substance to keep the gases of Earth here and pressurized, and would also maybe present an obstacle for travel if we have to go through some sort of medium that is foreign to us, foreign to our experience on Earth, then that would be, difficult to make it through. But I do think, even whatever it is I believe about what's beyond Earth, I do believe there is a beyond Earth. I believe there is more out there in creation, and probably other spots where other beings and things live, So I could see the Earth being much bigger. I could see that being the thing. But yeah, I agree with you that I do not believe that the way they depict it to us is true.
Yeah,
it's like it's too many holes in it.
I think we go to and from the moon multiple times a day on a regular basis.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
Well, if it's a base and it wasn't set up by us,
why the dog and pony show though?
Right, but if it's a base and it wasn't set up by us, what would we be going there for?
Correspondence. I don't know.
With whoever set up the base.
Yeah.
Well, whoever set up that base, if they're still there, I would imagine they're really in charge.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine too.
So, all right, before we get too far off on just the shape of the Earth and all that, I can go back to Artemis II. The Artemis II mission, which I believe what they depicted was they were set to leave Earth, essentially do a figure 8 around the moon, and then return to Earth. And they launched on April 1st, 2026, landed about roughly 100 miles off the coast of San Diego on April 10th. So just 6 days ago. And, initially, the first thing I immediately heard, and I of course, made the joke myself many a time, but one of the first things I heard was, they launched on April Fool's Day.
Right.
That's something. Yeah, they take off on April Fool's Day, which was just food for the conspiracy theorists.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's like, all right, well, it's clearly sending a message. It's like it's an April Fool's joke. They're not really going anywhere. Yeah, and honestly, the footage, the pictures, the things that have come out of this mission, I feel are extremely underwhelming. I gave that disclaimer. I do lean toward not trusting the heliocentric model. But even that being said, as this mission was getting ready to launch, as they were getting ready to launch this rocket, we're going to get the live stream, I was excited for this. I wanted to see the footage. I was excited I wanted to be convinced. I wanted them to release footage that would actually be compelling and actually be convincing. But, you look at these images of the moon that they gave us for the Artemis II, and honestly, they suck. I feel like you can get better photos, or you can get the same quality photos right here on Earth. So as we go through, their lunar flyby, my favorite is the picture of the dark side of the moon. They've titled it Artemis II in Eclipse.
Why wouldn't you put it in light? Why wouldn't you take a picture of it lit up from the sun?
Is it
It's not actually dark on the dark side of the moon all the time.
Right. I mean, is it too crazy to think that like maybe they could have like installed a light on their capsule, on their spacecraft to shine on the moon? Is that crazy? Given that, like, supposedly in their view, space is filled with this immense darkness.
Millions and millions of lumens. They weren't that close to the surface.
But I mean, how many do you really need if it's a vacuum? There's nothing stopping the light from getting there, right?
Light is light.
And light travels fast. Here on Earth,
it slows down in the atmosphere, but it just
and all the gases and stuff in our air, like it has to shine on it, diffuses, but there's nothing there to diffuse it.
Yeah, I don't think they would have a bright enough light to shine on the moon that would make any sort of difference for a photograph. But they could have taken a photograph when it was in sunlight.
Yeah. Well, but my understanding is the dark side of the moon is never in sunlight because it's in this perfect orbit with the Earth that even though it's rotating in perfect conjunction with us.
During a new moon, at some point it gets light.
When would it? If it's in perfect conjunction with us.
The dark side of the moon is not always dark.
Let's see. Does the dark side of the moon get sunlight? Yes, it does. According to Google, it does. Google's AI, more accurately called the far side, receives just as much sunlight as the side visible from Earth.
That's my favorite picture so far. Looks like a pair of ass cheeks on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, what's that? So it does receive light. I guess, is it getting light when we're in our day cycle?
It gets light when it's illuminated. I don't know exactly when that is. It's just when
14 days of constant sunlight and 14 days of night. When the moon is between the sun and the Earth, a new moon for us, the entire far side is fully illuminated by the sun.
That was going to be my guess, but during a new moon.
Was there a new moon during the Artemis II mission? Let's see.
Oh, that's convenient.
In a wax cell, of course, very convenient. That look at that. We got a little spaceship flying through. They're watching. They're aware we're looking into it.
The moon was a waxing crescent. So you'd still get a little bit of light on the dark side of the moon, yeah?
It should have.
Or was there?
Should have. Picture. There's a little bit of light. This picture, though, honestly, to me, doesn't even look like
computer generated.
Yes, it totally looks computer generated. I feel like I've seen better stuff on shows on the Sci-Fi Channel.
It looks like a cartoon.
I mean, could they not have given it the same budget as Star Trek?
Not even hyper-real.
I know. Give it the same budget as Star Trek Picard,
Well, at least that movie got $3 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the show, and it's a regular TV show, and it had better production value. And one of my favorite things with all the images, and this is how you can tell this one we were just looking at of the far side of the moon is an artistic rendition, is the stars. In some images, there are stars. In other images, there are no stars. And famously, if anybody's ever looked into it, if you listen to the commentary from astronauts who supposedly have been to space,
there's more stars than we ever imagined, I imagine.
It depends on who you ask. Some astronauts say when you go up into space, the stars are brighter than ever and you can see more stars than you could ever see from Earth, And other astronauts say pitch black, can't see nothing, which I find very curious. That, you'll have...
why would you have such a...
Why would there be a contradiction at all?
Contradiction.
Why would there be a contradiction at all? Let's see if I can pull up some of this and get... They famously contradict one another. Here, let's listen to the Apollo 11
when you
astronauts.
looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona in spite of the glare?
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see.
I don't remember seeing any.
So that's Apollo 11 astronauts on seeing stars on seeing stars in space, and they said, nope, couldn't see it. And this is Buzz Aldrin.
Because you can see,
Astronauts Mike Massimino and Don Petit, and they are asked if they can see stars.
Like Massimino.
Stars. Oh, yeah. And pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
And we're just... We're just going back and forth from videos of astronauts where they are contradicting one another. Some of them see stars, some of them see pure blackness.
Just in case the listeners can't hear this video, there's several different astronauts over a large time period having contradictory statements about the stars that they can see out their spaceship.
Which, you know, and if they were really there, there should be no contradiction whatsoever. Whatever you see up there, you know. But that was my big criticism with the Artemis II mission. It's like, you guys could have given, you know, maybe if everything's legit, surely you could have given us much more compelling footage, right? Like, who wants to see these astronauts eat peach cobbler out of a Ziploc tube?
No.
Nobody wants to see that. Just point the camera outside the window and leave it there. Leave it there for the entire mission. That's what we all want to see. It's 2026. You guys couldn't have rigged up anything to that
you couldn't
capsule.
rig one of the cameras to do that?
Right. And then like you can't use the criticism of or the fallback of like, well, it'll never survive leaving the atmosphere, because we know that it breaks apart. So you can have protected pieces.
You could just put it inside the fucking window.
Yeah. You could and just leave it there.
Yeah, just plaster it to the fucking window. There's a 6x8 camera that's going to obscure part of your window. That's it.
You know, like they never ever give us a video of Earth in space. That's what I want to see. I want to see Earth in space as this rocket is going away. Let's see the weather patterns move. Let's see the Earth turn. And so, even though this mission and stuff like this should be able, as something people can point to as proof that we live on a sphere, we live on a globe. Really, all the images of Earth they put out from this Artemis II mission,
they all look the fucking same.
Like, all you'd have to do is put out a video of us, just showing the Earth turning with the weather patterns, and that would do so much to disprove all the conspiracy theorists and to bolster their claims. So it's like, why don't you do it? There's so many problems with this journey. There were numerous green screen glitches.
Yeah, I saw a lot of those. Why are you using a green screen at all?
Right.
Again, that's more proof to my theory that, like, they've got these astronauts that we see in the media doing this dog and pony show where maybe they are actually going out there, or I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but why would you be using a green screen at all?
Right. Well, and so we were in agreement. We both feel like this mission, or what was put out to the public, is a farce, is a production. So, I mean, the real question that I scratch my head trying to wonder, and I have a few different ideas I have an overarching idea, a theory about why they push these space missions and that sort of thing. But it doesn't really necessarily explain this exact mission. It's just kind of an overarching explanation. But why do you suppose, what's the point? If they're faking it, what's the point of doing, what was the point in this whole exercise? And clearly you wanted the public to watch, What do you think the point would be?
So they can have some sort of disclosure to funnel money into quote unquote NASA, air quotes, So
space industrial complex.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you were saying basically sounds like is they're using it as an excuse to continue to funnel money, probably into, of course, into their own pockets, but into all sorts of projects and everything else. But that's the same thing as military industrial complex. It must go on because it's hungry,
Maybe they're funneling all that money into building subterranean levels to where humans can go and live during the apocalypse that they know is coming, but they won't tell us because it would create this huge, mass paranoia in the public and just chaos. And if they knew about that, like a world-ending sort of event is coming, they're not going to tell us.
Right. I totally agree with you.
If they tell us, it'll be like a week before, and that's long after they've long prepared for it.
Well, that would be, NASA, their fiscal year 2026 spending bill, they were provided nearly $24.5 billion, which comes out to about $67 million a day. Yeah, I mean, if you get $67 million a day, you could definitely build some bunkers. You know what I mean? You could build a lot of bunkers.
And we've talked about these underground facilities that are already open to some of the public.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what is out there that's not open to the public.
And that's the perfect cover because people think you're spending all this, and people don't even question it. We were talking about that briefly before, or I was saying that to you briefly before we started recording. I feel like NASA is the one part of our government that somehow the public gives a pass to in their mind. They don't receive the same scrutiny as other parts of the government.
They're discovering the unknown.
Right. And so it's like as if they're like free from, immune to corruption or something.
There's so many unknown variables in space travel. That's why we need all that money.
Yep. Yeah. I'd be inclined.
And we're going to send you up in a tin can.
Yeah. We're going to see in this little bitty tin can. The going up is one thing, and we got our recorded images of them going up and everything. But the best part's their return, But I guess we should wait a little later in the episode to go into that.
Why don't they fucking use the space shuttle anymore?
The space shuttle? The ISS?
No, just the space shuttle, like the iconic space shuttle that I had when I was a kid.
Oh, it kind of looks like a plane.
Yeah, it looks like a plane, and it piggybacks on a fucking rocket up out of the atmosphere, and then it travels through space.
Yeah, I mean, for what I understand is, at least from what they've said, the new models are like better, more efficient, or whatever.
I'm sure there is a newer model, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've got one docked on the International Space Station. I'm not really very well versed in it, but it just dawned on me. They have other space vehicles besides these fucking capsules. Why not use them? It does seem
smarter than it's
like you
come down with
slowly
balloons.
descend into the atmosphere with something that's got fucking wings on it instead of a giant turd with parachutes on it.
And I mean, so when they were still using the space shuttle, that space shuttle went into space, came down and landed on an airport runway.
Yes.
Airport run, that's something.
Yes.
And now this time we landed balloons. They had party balloons on the thing, having it come down.
I thought there was parachutes. No, they used balloons?
There were parachutes and balloons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you look at the,
well, I guess I didn't really watch the video because I wasn't sure if it was even real.
So, see, once they came to get it.
Oh, those balloons are to help keep
inflatables.
To keep it from tipping upside down, I guess.
I guess so. But yeah, so they had parachutes and balloons. But yeah, we got balloons and parachutes, which, hey, those must be some parachutes, because they said it was going 25,000 miles per hour when it entered our atmosphere.
Well, it's going to slow down when it hits. Okay, so logically thinking, if this actually happened, physics and whatnot, as far as we know, it's going 25,000 miles as it begins to touch our atmosphere. The atmosphere is chock full of all kinds of molecules of the gas, the air, and it creates a whole bunch of friction. Mm-hmm. And that friction will slow down the capsule. But that friction also generates an incredible amount of heat. So
I'm
curious as to how much does it slow down before it gets to...
Would it slow down?
Slow down? It should slow down.
Should it though? I mean, so you've entered
at least a little bit from 25,000 miles per hour.
But just the scientific viewpoint of it, if you've entered Earth's gravity well, Earth's gravity is pulling you in. Doesn't that increase your speed?
No, not with the drag of the air.
Okay,
because the molecules have to get out of the fucking way.
Right.
It's like slapping your hand on the surface of a water. Like you can push it through slowly, but you can't move at an incredibly fast rate. You've got to get the molecules out of the way to be able to pass through them.
Something I didn't think about before. How fast were they moving in space?
On their journey? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't look. They can only travel at a maximum speed if they want to continue to sling around the moon's gravity, supposedly.
They were traveling at 25,000 miles per hour. How did they even get that to go that fast?
Well, once you get into space, there's supposedly a vacuum, right?
Right, so no resistance.
So there's no air resistance anymore.
But but that also means thrusting, like an engine doesn't do anything.
Yes, it does.
Well, if you're in a vacuum, if you're put like the way that the momentum works for a rocket over here,
you're ejecting matter out the back end. It's pushing you forward. Yes.
Yeah. But if you're ejecting matter into a vacuum, it's not going to propel you forward.
Yes, it is. I think it does. You're not a physicist. I'm not a physicist, but
I think I've watched them
the
do an
math is
experiment
there
on
on that sort of thing.
I guess that one says it does. Let's see.
According to the current physics model.
See, I would admit,
I'm not trying to challenge Newton's theory at the moment.
No, I'm not either. I was legit trying to picture it in my mind. I was like, well, if it's in a vacuum, because I picture it here as like
you're
it's
too hung up on the vacuum.
Well, I mean, shouldn't the physics be different than here though? If you're like here, rocket, you turn it on and it
vacuum
pushes
just
you up.
means there's not an abundance of molecules in between me and the door. If there's a vacuum in this room, there wouldn't be as many molecules in between me and the door.
Right. There would be none.
Right. So if there's no molecules in between the spaceship, the rocket, and the moon, and you're ejecting molecules at the back end of it,
then it should propel faster.
Propel it at an exponential rate.
Yeah.
To whatever calculated speed they did. What are you looking at?
His rocket. He's got a rocket in a vacuum. I'm going to turn that. I think he's shooting it with a laser.
Whoa.
Yeah, okay.
Holy cow, that generated a lot of force. Once the rocket took
Some more
off,
for
it
even more
smashed
force.
the wall just into 1,000,000 pieces. That's so cool. So let's try a little bit bigger syringe.
Yeah, so there's proof that...
It sent it forward with even more force.
Yeah, because there's less resistance.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So they got into space, and they got up to going 25,000 miles per hour, slingshot around the moon.
How far away is the moon, and how long does it take to get to the moon at 25,000 miles per hour?
It took 3 days, apparently. Let's see. The moon is
granted, they weren't
238 or nearly 239,000 miles away.
Granted, they weren't traveling 25,000 miles an hour the entire trip. They had to accelerate at some point.
Yeah, they had to.
Right.
They reached maximum velocity at 25,000 miles per hour. But let's see here.
So 238,900 miles per...
So, just to go from, if they would have been going 25,000 miles per hour the entire time, it would have taken them 9 hours. Because I just did the math of the distance to the moon divided by 25,000, and you get 9.5. So, if they would have been going that speed the whole time, then you just get a 10-hour mission. But, yeah,
let's say they accelerate half the distance to the moon.
When did Artemis II...
So it took them a day and a half to accelerate to 25,000 miles per hour, maybe?
I think I had to take them longer than that. So let's see. According to this, the Artemis II Orion spacecraft reached its maximum velocity of approximately 23,864 miles per hour to somewhere between that and 25,000, roughly Mach 32 on Friday, April 10th, just before. So that was only right at the very end. So let's see.
Oh, that's when they're approaching Earth's gravity then, maybe.
Yeah, what speed did they travel
from Earth to the moon?
From Earth to the moon. I feel like we asked that question a minute ago, and it told 25,000.
Yeah.
Let's see. And again, here we go. Yep, the Artemis II spacecraft traveled at variable speeds during its journey from Earth to the moon, ranging from a peak of 24,527 miles per hour at the start to as low as roughly 1,000 miles per hour near the moon. So they slowed down as they got close to the moon.
I think they traveled not even close to 25,000 miles an hour until the third trip home.
So they say the mission used free return trajectory, which works like throwing a ball straight up into the air. The spacecraft started fast to break away from Earth, but then slowed down significantly as it climbed against Earth's gravity. And, you got to remember, according to science, the moon is considered within Earth's atmosphere, within Earth's gravity wheel. Right. So to leave Earth's, you got to, even if you get to the moon, you're not really out of Earth's gravity wheel. So at least the way they're describing it, I can get that. We're reaching the edges of our gravitational well, and then they get yanked back. But that's why I jumped back to the whole, during the yank back, seems like you'd speed up.
Well, yeah, you do until you reach
the Earth,
the actual air, the atmosphere.
And so then, yeah, that reaching the atmosphere is my next favorite part of all of this too. And I know we talked about this somewhat briefly, but see, they reach Earth's atmosphere. They're going 25,000 miles per hour, and within it took 7 minutes and 7 seconds for them to slow down to the speed of 350 miles per hour at roughly 25,000 feet.
Is that when they deploy the parachutes at 350 miles per hour?
I'm not sure. Let's.
That's what I was curious about. Like,
I was thinking that same thing.
How fast are they fucking going?
You don't deploy it at 25,000.
No, they just rip off,
right?
Or burn up with the heat off the heat shield.
So the Artemis II was traveling. Yep. So it was that. Once they were going 350 miles per hour, that's when they did the parachutes at roughly 20,000 feet. So
how much longer did it take from 350 miles per hour before they hit the surface of the water?
So I might have mixed up my how long it took them. No, they did say 7 minutes. It took. No, again,
you
took
said
7
it took
minutes.
7 minutes, 7 seconds to slow down from 25,000 to 350. The parachutes deploy, and then how long were they floating with the parachutes before they hit the surface of the water?
I think they gave the same answer of 7 minutes, but I'm going to double check that.
That can't be fucking right.
So, I'm going to double check it.
There's no way it is exactly the same.
It took, a little bit longer, 13 to 20 minutes to slow down from 25,000 to 350. And then 7 minutes.
From 350 to the surface?
From 350 to
type
splashdown.
That in. I want to double check it. How long did it take from parachute deployment to the surface of the water for the capsule of Artemis II?
How long did it take Artemis II to splash down after deploying the parachutes?
3 to 4 minutes. It's even less.
3 to 4 minutes, yeah.
Why? Where the fuck did we get 7 minutes then?
That's what I swear when I looked before, that's what they told me. Let's see.
Is Google feeding us a line of shit here?
Based on Artemis II mission on April 10th, the Orion capsule splashed down 8:07, blah, 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 blah. Key details. The spacecraft entered the final phase of its reentry. Reports indicated there were roughly 7 minutes left before the splashdown after the capsule emerged. So, yeah, I swear I knew that's what I came across and found.
Let me read that. Reports indicate there was roughly 7 minutes left before splashdown after the capsule emerged from a 6-minute communications blackout. Okay. So there's a blackout when they go into originally enter the atmosphere because of the heat.
And that's the difference in the time.
So there was 7 minutes after they came back from the blackout before splashdown of the 12 to 13 minutes or whatever it was.
14, so making like a total 14 minute. Yeah, 12 to 14 minutes.
Okay, so half the journey through the atmosphere was in blackout. So that's the 7 minutes. But okay, so to get back to your point, now that we've got some more distinct facts here, they're super hot for 7 fucking minutes entering the atmosphere, slowing down from 25,000 miles an hour to 350 miles an hour. And they eventually come back to radio comms. Their parachutes deploy, and then it's only 3 to 4 more minutes before splashdown. So over the course that they superheat this capsule over a maximum of 14 minutes we've discovered, and then it's splashdown, and there's no heating reaction to the water, no steam when it hits the water.
Not a single iota of steam.
Like it looks like it's cold.
And I mean, we got to reiterate they claim that the Artemis II capsule was supposed to withstand temperatures of over 4,000 degrees and let's see.
So I was going to say it's 3 to 4 minutes parachutes deployed. That's definitely cooling, right? Because it's going slow enough that it'll cool down. But
cool down that much?
A more conservative view would be that it was hot the entire time of the 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And even if it did cool a little bit, it's not going to be enough from like how hot. Tell us how hot it gets on the surface of the capsule during reentry.
They claim the Artemis II spacecraft's heat shield encountered temperatures of roughly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Yeah. Roughly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Incredible heat produced by the compression of air in front of the capsule as it descends from the moon at 32 times the speed of sound.
So is there any material on Earth that can be superheated to 5,000 degrees and then cool within 15 minutes?
Let's see.
Cool to maybe 120 degrees? Let's even say less than 300 degrees. Because 300 degrees would definitely generate steam. but boiling water at sea level is what, 212 degrees?
So certain specialized materials, specifically refractory ceramics and ultra-high temperature ceramics, can withstand temperatures near or exceeding 5,000 degrees and are designed to handle rapid cooling. These materials typically used in aerospace, heat shields, hypersonic vehicles. So let's see. I want to hear how fast it can cool, because I have no doubt that we have material that can withstand the temperature.
I agree that there's definitely materials that can do that and withstand the temperature and the extreme cooling, but
so to
can
cool
it do it
from
within the time period
5,000 to under 300 degrees in 10 minutes, the material must also have high thermal shock resistance to prevent cracking. Blah, 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 blah. Ablative cooling materials like avocado used in the Orion heat shield are designed to char and erode, actively carrying heat away from the structure. So let's see. Let's focus on this one, the material they use.
coat.
Yeah. So it's taking the heat and putting it back out, because the heat has to go somewhere.
Right. So if you got a super hot object and you put it in the freezer, it's going to cool faster than if you put it on the kitchen table. Right? So
Right.
I think another factor would be how cool was the atmosphere that day and how much wind was blowing. But if it can do it at room temperature, then I think we debunked our theory of no steam.
Yeah, well, and that's what their claim is, that it cooled in the atmosphere, in the upper atmosphere, where it was, minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which
that's where it's
aggressively
heating
strips
up.
the heat. Should be.
That's where it's heating up. The upper atmosphere is where it's entering the atmosphere. It's super cold, but there's a lot of molecules there heating up, creating friction at 25,000 miles per hour. It would only start cooling at about halfway down.
So let's see. How
what-
high up
what-
did they say? What height were the parachutes deployed?
There you go.
know?
So what percentage of atmosphere was it in when parachutes were deployed?
What?
Was that still upper atmosphere?
The drogue chutes are deployed first at 25,000 and 26,000 feet.
So now there's two sets of parachutes?
Yeah, apparently.
Why don't we have video of the entire reentry?
Right. The videos
Another-
they do put
another
out
thing, like-
sort of suck. The videos they have put out, they focus
Like
on
you'd
the
at least
parachute.
see a fireball or something coming in, right?
So is this interesting? Actually, I have a friend who lives out here, and she has a sister who lives in California, out in the San Diego area. And on the 10th, when it was supposed to re-enter, there were a bunch of people gathered out there. I think it's like some location, like right on the coast, this government building, where it's like they knew they weren't going to see it splash down, because it was supposed to land.
It was like 100 miles off the coast. Yeah.
But they were supposed to see it enter the atmosphere.
Right.
And they were supposed to hear a sonic boom.
Yeah.
The sonic boom never happened. There was no sonic boom. And all those people were disappointed. They never got to see it. And my friend Soph was telling me that her sister was out there and excited to see all this, and the whole big crowd of people all just disappointed because it didn't see anything. And yeah, reasonably, you would think if there's this flaming thing of metal coming through the
see
sky,
a fireball.
you should,
And yes, you should hear a sonic boom. At
You
least
should.
one.
right?
Because it's going so goddamn fast at Mach 32 as it enters the atmosphere. It's slowing down, breaking the sound barrier.
Right. So 25,000 feet would be considered the troposphere. So
Which is upper atmosphere.
the troposphere this is the lowest layer of Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, that's where we live. The troposphere. That's what we're breathing right now.
Yeah, Mount Everest is in the troposphere.
Oh.
Yeah, the stratosphere is higher, the mesosphere is higher, the thermosphere is higher. So they were not in the upper. I mean, let's see. We're going to dive deeper. Is the troposphere
Part of the upper atmosphere.
No, the troposphere is considered the lower atmosphere. So we have, and I like that we're being diligent and not just running with our doubt there. But I think we've caught them on one at least. They're a little caught
they
up
said
on
there
this
was
one.
two sets of parachutes.
Yeah.
The first one was in the upper atmosphere, and the second one was in the lower
So
atmosphere.
the main parachutes deployed at an altitude of approximately 9,500 feet. So,
That's
lower than our 14ers.
2 miles up.
But
But that's still within the troposphere because it said 0 to 7 miles is the troposphere.
Yeah, and I mean at a lower altitude than our 14ers out here. People hike higher than that, if it's 9,000 feet.
Okay, so it was slowing down, and we can reasonably say that the surface of the capsule was being superheated from friction of the atmosphere for at least the first 7 minutes, because that's how long they're out of contact, right?
Right.
And then maybe it began to cool slightly before that, right? So 6 minutes it was super hot.
So
So then it was another 7 to 8 minutes before splashdown.
and they shed a layer, apparently. They shed a layer at 25,000 feet. So the first capsule contacts the upper atmosphere at roughly 400,000 feet. That's the initial entry, according to them.
And then a shield just flips off, and then they go into a secondary heat shield.
Yeah, apparently the forward bay cover jettison. Around 25,000 feet, the protective cover is removed to allow the chutes to deploy. So they got to let go of something so the parachutes can even be allowed to deploy. And then, two drogue parachutes deploy, slowing the capsule to about 300 miles per hour. And then 3 pilot chutes pull out of the main parachute at around 9,500 feet, reducing the speed to roughly 17 miles per hour. So
Yeah,
it's going really slow.
Nice, calm touchdown.
Yeah. So, maybe it's maybe it's reasonable that it could have cooled down up there, but the one problem I would say in their whole thing here is they did not deploy them in the upper atmosphere. They were deployed in the lower atmosphere. So what is the temperature of the troposphere? I think is the next question, because their claim is that
Cold
the
as
temperature,
fuck.
the troposphere, that's where we are.
Well, it varies. On the surface, it's fairly warm, but at the top of Mount Everest, it's cold as fuck.
Yeah.
So at the upper end of it it was sitting in the freezer.
Temperatures at the top of the troposphere are about -60.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it definitely could have cooled, but there's a lot of potential information as far as the procedure goes that may not be 100% accurate. Maybe that's for their own security, that not everybody knows exactly how
they do
the
it.
thing works, right? But maybe some of those general details should be a bit more accurate for everybody else's peace of mind.
Yeah.
My next question is, you showed me a video of splashdown of what was Apollo 11 and splashdown of Artemis II. And we saw it on a social media site, but I want to see if we can recreate the exact same videos from the NASA site. We can definitely find Artemis II splashdown from NASA, yeah?
So, in trying to find that one, the things that I was able to find are they're not exactly what I want. They are mostly still images. So we get a whole lot of still images, which is like, why don't we just give me a video? I want to see it. And NASA official
What's that one
video.
that says full reentry?
This one?
Right down the bottom there.
Well, we want it to be from NASA,
Right, but
This is the
sorry,
launch pad.
tangent.
You good. But no, this is
What is that?
there's several that show this, and I can speed up to we get to the part where they're coming back to Earth. But I love the visualizations. That was like literally half of this live stream broadcast mission. They just show us like a cartoon. Like, come on, guys. So this is supposedly what was happening as it's entering our atmosphere.
This was NASA's release,
yeah, this
supposedly published by NASA.
yeah, this was part of the live stream. This is
Okay, yeah.
yeah, this is they're showing like, so we can imagine what's happening. The whole thing's on fire. It's flaming through our atmosphere. But don't worry, super high tech ceramics, And then we get this black and white image of supposedly it coming through the atmosphere.
That's still an animation.
Yeah, and I want to get to where we can See it. So they never show us any video of it flaming through the sky, even though that should have been visible at some point if they were out there. And then when we go to the actual...
supposedly tracking it, just falling?
Yeah, they're just watching it fall.
I don't see any parachutes on it. Oh, now I do. Those are the ones supposedly slowing it down.
Yep.
And then the main parachutes...
They were deployed. Those are
deployed
the main.
later?
Those are the main.
Those are the main?
Those are the main.
Those 3 of them.
Or maybe there's going to be more
Just
to
keep
come
going,
out.
yeah.
Because I think it's about to
It
touch
looks
the
like
water.
It's crossing a large body of water.
So maybe the 3 are the upper atmosphere.
Oh,
There's the 3.
Now
Bam.
they released the other ones.
So the first 2 parachutes to slow it down where it was 2. Then they released the 3 as they get.
Yeah, now
come
it
down
actually
lower.
slows down. It looked like it was going hell of a really fast.
I wouldn't say 25,000 miles per hour, but pretty fast.
Yeah, it was going 300 miles an hour.
You know, the claim of 25,000
So
miles
now
per
it's going
hour.
slow. Okay, that makes sense.
And then she's going to come down and splash down. But as they get closer to it's going to switch back to black and white video.
Well, that's infrared.
And then switch back. But as they get closer and closer to the ground or to the water, they eventually we don't get a video from like on the water
Of actual splashdown.
Yeah.
Well,
see that blinking light?
They spent a whole bunch of other money. They couldn't figure out exactly where it was going to land, I guess, you know.
Right.
We're way over budget. They couldn't send one mathematician on it to figure out where he was going to land.
Yeah. To know exactly where it's going to be. So and then they send the little raft out to pick them up after. But so before I go into that, I want to hit on one of the other parts of my criticism for it. The claim that these people were going 25,000 miles per hour, which would be how much it was like Mach 32?
32.
So I want to see pilot withstand Mach 5.
The speed at which you're traveling isn't the problem. It's the change in acceleration. So if you accelerate to Mach 32 over a long time period, it's not going to be a problem. But if you accelerate to Mach 32 instantaneously,
But I mean, if you go from
pancake.
25,000 miles per hour to 350 or 25,000
How many
to
Gs?
17.
yeah, you want to find out how many G's do they experience while they're entering the atmosphere. Because all their blood is going to rush to their brain because they're slowing down from 25,000 miles an hour instantly to, within 7 minutes down to 350 miles per hour.
3 and 7 Gs.
I don't think there's not too many people in this world that have stayed conscious through 7 Gs. I think 5 or 6 has been the maximum or the world record.
So I want to know what's the force of 7 G force. What's that equivalent of? So a force of 7 Gs.
7 gravities.
Yeah, 7 times your normal body weight. So as if all of a sudden you weigh 7 times more. So if you weigh 150, 7 Gs would feel like you weigh 1,050 pounds. Your limbs would feel like lead. Lifting an arm would be nearly impossible. And even breathing becomes a struggle because your chest wall is too heavy to expand easily. So the world's wildest roller coasters, most major roller coasters peak around 4 to 5 Gs just for a second. 7 Gs is significantly more intense than anything you'd ever find there.
So I was way off, but 214 Gs recorded by an Indy car, but that's for a split fucking second. Highest voluntary acceleration is 46.2 Gs achieved by Colonel John Sapp on a rocket sled in 1954, but also that was probably for a few seconds. Withstanding a number of Gs for 7 minutes.
How could you breathe? Well, after you just said that and knowing the record for it, I got to be honest. I'm a little taken aback by the thought that the force of entering our atmosphere would be less than these things people have done here on Earth just for
A fighter pilot, while
kicks.
a training pilot often manages 9 Gs for several seconds. So doing a loop-de-loop or whatever, a sustained G forces over 6 Gs can be dangerous. However, pilots like Laszlo Zamatari have recorded sustaining 9 Gs for over 30 seconds.
So check this.
So there's some exceptional fucking people out there, but
The record for the highest G-force voluntarily endured, held by Colonel John Stapp.
yeah, I
Flight
just said
surgeon. But it destroyed him. Broken ribs, detached
Oh.
retina, burst blood vessels in his eye.
that. Yeah.
Like,
Well, I wasn't using that one as an example because it was an outlier to the
to the other
to the
ones.
group of data, but that was intentionally like as much G's possible. We're talking about 3 to 7 G's over the course of 7 minutes. Yeah, they're going to be slamming into a car basically.
Yeah, you would think they wouldn't be able to breathe or any of these. So, you know, to play devil's advocate, we could say, okay, they're wearing a suit to help alleviate
They are
some of that.
some pilots wear a suit, like a compression suit to where, I believe it squeezes their legs extra tight, so all of the blood doesn't rush away from your brain to your legs
To slow the blood down.
to slow the blood flow away from your brain. So even with that suit, though, I imagine it's still
Blood
horrendous
still
on your
has to be-
body.
Yeah, the blood, like, if the purpose of that suit is just to slow the flow of the blood down, you're kind of, even in putting that on, you're acknowledging that, like, my blood's going to flow in a way that I'm going to have no control
Where are we
over.
going with this?
So of just I think they would have had to withstand more force than that entering the atmosphere, but you know they came down, they land, and all of a sudden they're on a tour. My favorite thing is the people they gave them blankets. They were all still wearing their astronaut suits, and once they made it to the shore and everything, people put blankets on them, like as if they're cold. You know,
I imagine they're probably hot.
I would think so too. You're
You
wearing
know?
that big old suit, you know. Yeah, I would imagine.
Maybe the people
so
on
too.
the ground weren't real savvy to what was actually happening. I don't know.
So now here's an interesting one and this is something people drew attention to after the mission. So they're going around and they're doing giving speeches and everything. This is a photo op of them coming out, right? Or I guess this is them heading to the launch pad. I'm sorry, this is before they go.
This right here because
So they pay attention to the crowd. The crowd is recording them and everything. Look at the cameras on the crowd in the crowd that the members of the crowd have. So in the video we're looking at, the crowd is supposedly recording the astronauts getting ready to go to the launch pad, but there's nothing on the videos. So it appears like it's just like maybe this is a green screen event. Like, why did you even get these
I
people
don't
out
see
here?
what we're looking at.
He's talking and he needs to just play it. So yeah, look at their phone screens as they record.
They're taking pictures of something else.
But why aren't the screens
They're-
showing
yeah,
what's
they're-
in front of them?
They're not.
So makes me think that what we're looking at, you know,
Yeah, that was another doctored video.
this whole thing is, doctor. They've pieced together images of a crowd and images of the astronaut because
Pause it right there.
if these,
Can you take a screenshot of that?
yeah,
Take a screenshot of that and then zoom in on that picture. Because you can't zoom in on video for whatever reason, but
let's see.
okay, now zoom in on that picture.
Totally not what's right in front of them.
No. And if you zoom back out, is that the background actually? Kinda, maybe.
It does sort of look like what's behind them.
So yeah, they're actually taking pictures of
Nothing,
that space there, but there's no astronauts actually in front of them.
which is so weird. Why would this be something that has to get doctored, you know? But just another thing.
Yeah, that could
where
have
there's-
easily actually been people taking pictures of people coming out ready to get on the fucking space shuttle.
Yeah, if you would have let the public there,
Not space
people would
shuttle,
have.
Artemis II.
But clearly, the people in the crowd, based on what they're wearing, appear to all work there or work for the government. You know, they all have
yeah, they all look
badges
like-
and insignias.
Look like they work for Rocket Farce 1.
Yeah, exactly. So that's and then there's the numerous things that the astronauts said that got people's attention and all the critics of the mission. There was famously one of them who said, "This is the first time we're sending humans to the moon." Did you see that interview?
Yeah.
I know one of the astronauts said that.
Yeah, this will be the first time we've ever been to the moon.
It's just like,
what? No.
right?
Fail history class? Oh, wait.
You work for NASA.
Maybe you
should
actually know what happened.
So I want to see what's their reason for the sonic boom not happening. Oh, no, where'd it go? The sonic boom not happening. So they had lots of disappointed fans who were expecting to hear it. So they say, I live in San Diego and I did not hear a sonic boom. Shoot, I was hoping to hear a sonic boom. So the thunderous sonic boom was expected to be audible to Americans across the country tonight, potentially rattling windows along the way. NASA announced that residents in San Diego coastline may be able to hear a sonic boom.
How far away can you hear a sonic boom?
I see.
Because maybe 100 miles is too far.
You can hear a sonic boom. So sonic boom can be heard from many miles away, with the lateral spread estimated at 1 mile for every 1,000 feet of altitude. A jet flying at 30,000 feet can create a shockwave audible on the ground for roughly 30 miles lateral in either direction. So it could have been that it was too far away. Yeah, very well could have been that. So yeah, they didn't even say why they didn't hear it, but I guess we're just left to assume that, hey, you're just too far away. But, I see that as another failure of the mission. It's 2026. You had a bunch of Americans, a crowd of people waiting to see and to hear this thing. And you didn't once
mention, oh, by the way, you're probably not going to hear the sonic boom because it's too far away.
Right. Now,
also, you might not be able to see the shuttle at all because you're also too far away.
They were supposed to be able to see it.
Maybe a small setup would have been nice.
There's been so many misstatements from these folks, But there's the space industry and the rocket industry has a history of that, of just questionable things. And my overall stance on it is really just if they're going to make incredible claims, which doing a figure eight around the moon, sending a robot to Mars, all of those things are incredible claims. You should be able to put out evidence and material to back up incredible claims. And, we shouldn't be able to pick it apart with the scrutiny of like, well, what if this was a Hollywood production, It should be able to stand up to any sort of scrutiny like that, just with the stuff they put out. And, like we were saying earlier, if they just put that camera in the window and leave it there. We don't want to see you eat sweet potatoes out of a tube.
No, nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that.
We'd be more interested in how you take a shit.
Right. So, and let's see, what else did we get on here? Oh, there's claims going on out there that at least 2 of the astronauts are actual actors before this, and you find the videos of Trump and others saying that like, oh, these great astronauts straight out of Central Casting. I'm of the belief that when they say somebody's out of Central Casting, we should believe them. So let's see, what are the 4? The Christina Koch, I know I saw claims that she was an actress prior to this. So yeah, she was in Mad Max Fury Road, and she also went to the moon.
What? Since when any astronauts actual actors prior to going into space? So, and then some of them afterwards, because they're famous afterwards, right? They do a cameo like Buzz Aldrin or whatever. But prior to ever, prior to becoming a ultra classified Air Force, Space Force member,
you were an actor.
You were an actor
in Mad Max. In Mad Max, you played in Mad Max Fury Road.
What part did she play?
Oh, let's see. She was one of the Vuvalini, known as the Many Mothers, in the 2015 film Mad Max Fury Road. A group of elderly female warriors and survivors in the wasteland.
Yeah.
So now this one, so for Christina Koch, they're not denying it. Yes, Christina Koch was an actress. She was at Mad Max, also went to the moon. Now, for one of the other astronauts, Victor Glover, who was supposedly the pilot of the mission, they are denying that he was, and his IMBD has since been deleted, or actually his IMBD is still there, but it only lists the Artemis II mission as his only work.
Why the fuck would he be on IMDb then?
You know my answer to that because it's a production.
It's a fictional production.
It's a production, So he gets credit for the Artemis II and all that stuff.
What the fuck, man?
But
Every time I get some regulating evidence that pulls us back down to earth, so to speak, right? Then I get some more evidence that it's not.
So, but people are saying, and I was staring at it earlier, and I'm like, I don't know. It looks like a match. People are saying that Victor Glover was an actor too. So I'm going to pull up Victor Glover, astronaut. That way you can just look and compare yourself. They're saying that this guy was in season 1 of Fallout. Victor Glover.
He was in the very first episode. It looks like.
Yeah, I think so. But we gotta see here. So yeah, this is perfect. This is because that's the image from Fallout. Open.
I mean, it could be his doppelganger. It could be his clone. We've talked about clones many a times.
Very well could be.
Because if you're making all these clones to take over the world, you want one to be an actor, you want one to be an astronaut, you want one to be a politician, you want one to be a fucking race car driver.
You want some spares around,
right?
Like we were talking about
Also,
Epstein
it could also be the Victor Glover we're talking about.
Yeah, I lean toward that's Victor. That's the Victor Glover is the actor because they were like they said, these astronauts are straight out of Central Casting.
So I started watching Space Force on Netflix.
The show, yeah,
the TV show, and it's quite entertaining. And I looked up when Space Force was announced as an actual section of government, right? And then when Space Force was released to the public, the TV show, it was only like 6 or 7 months difference. Like they threw together this entire TV show
just to roll out Space Force,
to roll out Space Farce. So they knew. These people that built the TV show knew about Space Force long before it was ever going to be released to the public, right?
Had to. There's no way
There's no way they threw it together in 6-7 months. It takes most of the time at least 6 months to film the fucking thing, and then another 6 to 7 months to do post production.
Right. No, so we got one more thing that just kind of shows their fakery. 1968, Earth from Moon. So essentially, people online noticed that the image they gave us of Earth from the Moon is the exact same image from 1968, and they just made the Earth a little bit bigger. Where was that? 1968. So that one's too blurry for me to see it, as with that one. But I mean, in the other one, you can see there that the cloud pattern that he has on there. That they have on there is exact. You can see the landmass right there. It's the exact. They didn't even bother to change the cloud pattern. So either they just so happened to catch a picture of the Earth while the weather pattern matched the way it looked when
exactly
Apollo 8. Yeah, when Apollo 8 was on the moon in 1968, or they're lying and this is a doctored image, and they if it's a doctored image, it just makes me think, are you guys really that lazy? In 1968, you had to come up with a new image. Are you really so lazy that you would just reuse old images?
I'm guess.
You know what I mean?
They could have spent an extra $100 on somebody.
Yeah. Give us a new one. You can't. But yeah, so we got astronauts with a background in acting, because when we're picking the finest amongst us to send to space, having a role in Mad Max Fury Road really bumps you up the list. And we get images that just so happen to look exactly like they looked 50 years ago. So, and I've seen this question asked. I posed this to some people, and at least asking the public, most people I seem to ask seem to want to default to just believing or seeing no issue with this. But one question I did see people online posing was, who filmed the 4 astronauts inside that craft? Because the camera does move around, that sort of thing, and for very large portions of the live stream mission, all 4 of them are visible. But the camera's moving and maneuvering, and they're like, oh, we're going to turn and look at this. But they're all right there. So who is maneuvering the camera? I suppose you could say, well, it's a smart camera with AI. You know, they have the cameras now that people use on Zoom meetings and stuff that'll follow your face and that sort of thing. But
Yeah, maybe.
I have trouble believing they have a AI space camera that was designed for zero gravity to turn and maneuver around in that sort of environment. Seems to me way more likely that if you are in a zero gravity environment, someone has to be directing that camera, or the camera is mounted and someone's remotely controlling it, but nonetheless, someone has to be.
Maybe remotely,
Yeah.
but even still, remotely is going to be a serious delay to it.
Shouldn't be, yeah.
If they're sending even laser beam signal to remote control the camera.
You can't be sitting there having a conversation.
Or maybe somebody's got a
it.
button in their hand.
Yeah.
Did somebody have a button in their hand, maybe?
Not that I saw in any of the footage, but let's see. Let's see here.
I'm having a hard time finding the same image for 1962 and Artemis II mission, but...
You found the 68 one?
No. Well, I've found... I'm having a hard time finding the same picture.
So, I mean, look, I just Googled 1968 Earth from Moon.
Right, I did that. But I can't find that same picture on the Artemis II that comes up in Google.
Here. I think this is that it? That's the one right there? That's not the exact same. That's not the same thing.
But the surface, go back and look at the surface of the moon in that picture.
Looks so real.
No, it doesn't.
I know. It looks like straight up like
It looks
clay.
It looks
like a prop, like they have put in front of this. That is not at all. Yeah, that looks like clay to me.
And that's the closest object to them, supposedly.
You would think it would be a little bit more detailed.
At least, a variance of, even from Earth looking up at the moon, at a full moon, there's a variance of colors, of bright grays to dark grays, almost blacks sometimes, yeah?
Yeah.
I see none of that. It's all the same fucking color gray.
Yeah. And so here's another one
with some pock marks all over it.
Same moon. The surface looks exactly the same there, but you can see the Earth creeping up over the side. And say, are there more images of Earth from the moon? Is it giving us
some of those look real, but
which your favorite?
Like maybe these ones here.
These? But I feel like these, and tell me if you disagree, I feel like this, if we had
that looks
a
like
nice
it was taken
camera,
from Earth with a telescope, though.
Yeah, you get a nice, or not even a telescope, a nice camera with some zoom. I feel like you can get this image.
That was taken from an observatory here in Colorado somewhere.
Right? It's like that image and then, of course, then we go back to our claymations.
Yeah, it looks like clay.
It's like that we get super zoomed in pictures of the moon that if you're that much closer to it, you think you'd get better detail. Like even this, like maybe you use a filter to change the lighting, but I feel like you can get this image from Earth.
Yeah, again, wouldn't you have a better picture up close? Wouldn't that be part of the mission, is to map the surface of the back of the moon?
Well, and isn't it funny?
Like let's take as many pictures as we can of the surface of the backside of the moon.
To map it, yeah.
And also, why wouldn't they fucking send them up when the backside of the moon is lit up by the sun?
Yeah, during a new moon. But I mean, isn't it funny that, and of course, pictures are always a matter of perspective, but prospectively, looking at this photo of the moon, supposedly taken in space, close to the moon, it looks just as big as it looks from here. You would think it would be like dominating the entire, everything you can see, But I guess maybe they're still really far away right there.
Okay, so I guess let's reel it in and say, what was their supposed objective? It was to get to the moon so they can eventually land on the moon?
No.
With this rocket?
No. The purpose of the Artemis II missions, there is future Artemis missions planned. They are planning on building a lunar station, not on the moon. A lunar station,
orbit?
Yeah, like the International Space Station, but for the moon. And supposedly they're going to launch future missions from there.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really make that much sense to me, seeing as how you still have to launch from Earth first, to get to the said station.
Well, maybe you can make larger spaceships in space like Star Trek does.
I hope so. I mean, look, I really, really want to. I love sci-fi. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I want that to be the world I'm living in. But God, our leaders make it really hard to believe them when they put, stuff out about space. Because I'm just like, guys, this is really crappy production value you guys got going here. The lingering question is, if it's faked, what's the point?
Yeah. Again, why is it it's $70 million a day fake? Why? When are we going to know the actual truth?
I lean toward the flat Earth side of things, and in leaning toward that, I think to myself, well, if it is that we are encapsulated here in some sort of way, a barrier to keep the air pressure, my least favorite conspiracy theory of when I imagine all that is sometimes I'm like, well, what if we live in a big giant terrarium, and it's just a farm for some other creatures, or and something like that, clearly they want to influence what the public thinks about not only what we're doing, but space and all of that, of course, so they have the government has an interest in us all believing the moon mission, all of it, know?
Well, is there anything else?
No, I think we covered all of it.
Covered most of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess as I was saying that, one other idea popped in my mind, I'll say, is I feel like we've been conditioned for a long time for aliens to arrive, for intelligent visitors from some other part of creation to arrive. And I believe there are a non-human intelligence out there, but what if we're being misled in how we think about these non-human visitors? If we're being led to believe that, you just get in a rocket and load up the engine, make sure you got enough fuel and you get there, and maybe really they're coming through, a
portal.
Yeah, like CERN. And they're coming through ways like so. Then
they're coming through a Stargate, or they're coming through an interdimensional portal.
Yeah,
like it's maybe at CERN.
But if you make the human race believe that they've come from somewhere far away and they have like a mothership or something like that, you also make us helpless. You make us feel helpless. Because if they're coming through a portal and these beings are problematic, okay, we know what to do. Close the portal, seal the portal, bury the portal. But if you tell me that they arrived in a mothership, I don't know what I can do. You know what I mean?
Right.
If the invaders are coming from somewhere far away in a big mothership. So, I mean, that could be part of it, there's something planned in the future, and they're trying to control how we're going to think about what's to come.
Yeah, it's all a system of control.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, One last note, message from our sponsor, Big Sexy's Brine Co. All natural homemade pickles and pickled vegetables, includes famous spicy pickles, spicy dilly beans, escabeche, pickled red onions, radish, turnips, pickled garlic, pickled okra, and soy okra, and even now pickled pineapple. What? Pickled pineapple? Yeah. You can find Big Sexy's at farmers markets and shows around Denver, generally at every first Friday at Karma House. Not in May. I will be somewhere else. This episode probably won't come out before that anyways. You can find where I'm going to be at my website at bigsexysbrine.co. You can check me out and contact me on that website. You can titillate your taste buds with Big Sexy. Big Sexy is the only thing long, hard, and satisfying you can eat on camera. So good you want to put Big Sexys in your mouth right now. Check me out at my website, bigsexysbrine.co. Big Sexys with an S, brine.co. Love you guys. See you soon. That's all for today.
Till next time.